Representative Simmons to explain his bill.
He said you wanted to go ahead.
We're ready when you are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. I'd like to lay out House Bill 2899. Mr. Chairman, you don't have a committee substitute for House Bill 2899. If you'd lay out that substitute.
The chair lays out this committee substitute to House Bill 2899.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Hold on,
members.
just 1 second. And I want to just read in the record, this is committee substitute to House Bill 2899, and it's the draft number 23527. All right, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee substitute for House Bill 2899 deals with a matter that affects all Texans, either directly or indirectly. As in many other areas of state statute, the bill provides for this issue to be handled on a statewide basis. This issue needs to be the same in Austin as it is in Abilene, needs to be the same in Houston as it is in Hutto. And this bill also allows private businesses to set their own policies with regard to this issue, ensuring that Texas remains open for business. The bill addresses a majority of Texas concerns as they relate to our most intimate public places. Committee substitute for House Bill 2899 applies only to a portion of an ordinance or policy concerning access to multiple occupancy restrooms, showers, and changing facilities. Let me say that again. 2899 applies only to a portion of an ordinance or policy concerning access to multiple occupancy restrooms, showers, and changing facilities. HB 2899 does not eliminate any non-discrimination ordinances for veterans, pregnant women, or the elderly that has been falsely reported in the press. It does not eliminate non-discrimination ordinance for transgender individuals in areas of the law not related to multiple occupancy bathrooms, showers, or changing facilities. But what it does is it protects our citizens in an area that they believe they need to be protected in. And sometimes it's protected from unintended consequences, not even necessarily what the non-discrimination ordinances are set up to provide. It does not prohibit a statewide non-discrimination policy. What we're saying is that this needs to be handled at the state level, and the committee substitute makes it very clear. Committee substitute for House Bill 2899 is similar to the revised North Carolina statute that passed on a bipartisan basis with over a 2/3 vote here in the last few weeks. Several cities in Texas have some non-discrimination ordinances, but many of those specifically exclude bathrooms, changing facilities, and showers. In fact, California, which is considered one of our most progressive states, only requires single toilet bathrooms to be gender neutral. So this is not something that's outside the norm. We're actually working on another committee substitute, as the chairman knows, and hopefully you would have a copy of it. If you don't, we'll get that to you. And it really just does a couple things. It clarifies federal law and what we mean when we say federal law. It also clarifies what we mean with state law. And we have a resource witness from the Attorney General's office that can discuss that further. It also would allow the Attorney General to recover any cost or attorney's fees associated with enforcing House Bill 2899. Mr. Chairman, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, if there's no questions, we're going to go ahead and start. Yes, Representative Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The substitute that you're referring to, is that, Chairman, you mentioned it was 23527. Is that the substitute? That
We will have another substitute that's coming. Yes.
This is a substitute that's laid before you.
Right.
Okay, so we're not even talking about the substitute that you're talking about. Quite yet.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Eddie. Absolutely, Representative Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and just remind everybody, we have a lot of witnesses here, and the committee's really looking for testimony that adds to the dialogue, and try to remember that we got 3 minutes. When you come up, be sure and state who you are, who you're representing, and your position. And if you don't have anything to add, it's always appreciated when we can show you for the bill, not testifying, and that becomes effective too. But we'll go ahead and start taking. Yeah, And as a reminder, only credential media is allowed to film or record, which is well posted there. So we appreciate your help on that matter. And at this time, the chair will call Ashley Harris, Visit San Antonio Director of Government Relations, to speak against the bill. So is Ashley Harris here? We'll show. This may be her coming up, I think. I think it is, yes. Okay. Go ahead, please
Thank you.
start.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Harris with Visit San Antonio, testifying today in opposition of House Bill 2899. To speak in understatements, hospitality and tourism is important to San Antonio. It is the third largest industry in our city, and 1 in every 8 individuals in San Antonio are employed in hospitality and tourism. Our industry brings in $13.6 billion to our city every single year. In a nutshell, any negative economic impact on hospitality and tourism disproportionately impacts San Antonio more than almost any other city in Texas. On Monday, Visit San Antonio and the San Antonio Tourism Council released results from a study we commissioned from the Perryman Group. The study outlines the economic impact of our city's industry should any bathroom bill style legislation be enacted. The study concluded that the San Antonio New Braunfels MSA will experience an initial loss of $411 million in nearly 4,650 jobs. The Perryman study only addresses losses in hospitality, tourism, meetings, and conventions. We are already experiencing losses in our city. Visit San Antonio had 2 organizations cancel their events for economic losses of nearly $3 million. We have 11 additional organizations that I update on a near weekly basis who are monitoring this type of legislation to determine if they're going to cancel their event. I've attached some of their letters to my testimony for your review. We very much appreciate the efforts that Representative Simmons has taken to narrow the scope of this bill and lessen the potential economic impact. Unfortunately, the perception of discrimination is out of our hands, and legislation of this nature is viewed as discriminatory, and it is not in line with the welcoming environment that guests to our city have come to expect. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Yes, Representative Farrar.
So what you're saying then is that, I think you said 411 million lost?
Yes, ma'am.
Initial, and 650 jobs, and that's just.
4,650.
Oh, sorry, okay. And so that's just in tourism?
Yes, ma'am. That is tourism, meetings, and conventions.
Okay, and so then it appears that San Antonio would not be open for business.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
When we're talking about these studies, I'm just curious, what are the studies based upon? How do you extrapolate out on a law that hasn't been passed yet? I'm just curious what data they're basing their projections on.
So I'm not an economist, and I apologize. But the Perryman Group.
Perryman here?
No, he's actually testifying in San Francisco, I'm afraid, in a federal trial.
Okay, well, I'm sure there'll be others with.
But we'll be more than happy to bring him by.
Okay, I'm just curious as to how they weigh it.
Sure, of course. Actually, if you look in the back, the study is included in all of your packets. If you look in the back, that methodology is in there. And when they started getting to technical terms, I kind of fell asleep.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. And my chamber here in Austin, I represent a district here in Austin, is very concerned about this type of legislation as well. Do you, the author of the bill mentioned the North Carolina law? Are you somewhat familiar what North Carolina has done recently?
I'm somewhat familiar. Yes, sir. I don't know if I can speak in depth to it.
In your opinion, does this law, what you've seen so far of this particular bill, would that look like North Carolina to you? And does that make a difference to a city like San Antonio, who I know is a very popular spot?
In my opinion, I don't believe it will, because 41% of meeting planners say that they just will avoid cities that have bathroom bill style legislation, because why?
States, I guess.
States, I'm so sorry. 41% of meeting planners said that they would avoid that, because why would they bring something to a state that's going to have, they're going to have difficulties with members? They'll just take their event to another state.
perception is everything.
Perception is, and we are in the business of selling perception. Thank you.
Okay, members, any other questions?
Thank you.